Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. Special focus will be on inflationary trends in the economy. We'll be talking to expert Priranjan Das about that as well. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Special court calls CBI case on additional 2G spectrum allocation false and fabricated, exonerates former Telecom Secretary Shamal Ghosh, Airtel and Vodafone. All set for voting in the second phase of the Bihar elections. Tight security arrangements made for polling in Mao-sensitive region. The government unveils steps to tackle galloping price rise of pulses, decides to import 2,000 tons to increase supply. The Supreme Court stays the ban on dance bars in Maharashtra. Chief Minister Fadnavis says government will regulate them to prevent obscenity. And after playing 92 tests and 200 one-dayers, Indian bowler Zaheer Khan calls it a day. BCCI calls him a perfect role model who displayed passion and commitment. Well, top story this evening. In a big setback for the CBI, the special 2G court pulled up the agency for filing a false and fabricated charge sheet in the additional spectrum scam. The court has also discharged former Telecom Secretary Shamal Ghosh and 3 telecom firms in the same case.
The CBI got a rap on its knuckles from the court trying the 2G spectrum case. The court pulled up the agency for filing a false and fabricated charge sheet in the 2002 additional spectrum scam case. Observing that the Central Investigating Agency tried to mislead the court, Special CBI Judge O.P. Saini also asked the CBI Director to conduct an inquiry against the officials responsible.
कोर्ट का आदेश ये है कि ये सारा झूठा था, ये फैब्रिकेटेड था और विद समबडी सम अल्टरियर मोटिव इसको फाइल किया गया था. कोर्ट ने ये क्लियरली कहा है कि दिस इज एन एक्सरसाइज फॉर एक्सट्रानियस रीजन से चार्जशीट पेश किया गया था. तो कोर्ट ने सही तरीके से कहा है कि जिसने भी ये आदेश दिया कि इनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई किया जाए और सब कुछ, तो वो जांच किया जाए और जो भी दोषी पाया जाए उसके और सीबीआई डायरेक्टर को डायरेक्शन दिया है कोर्ट ने.
I have always been completely confident in the justice given by the judicial system in this country. Firstly, because I had done no wrong. Secondly, I had faithfully implemented the then prevailing policy. Thirdly, those actions resulted in the state of the telecom sector as it is now.
Ghosh and 3 telecom firms, Hutchison Max Private Limited, Sterling Cellular Limited and Bharti Cellular Limited were charge sheeted by the CBI in the case relating to DOT allocating additional spectrum, allegedly leading to a loss of over 846 crore rupees to the exchequer. CBI had argued that Ghosh had given additional spectrum to the telecom companies at throwaway prices. Ghosh had countered, saying that private firms were not the only beneficiaries and that state-run MTNL and BSNL had also benefited. The accused firms also countered CBI's theory, saying they were allotted spare radio waves that would have actually benefited the government. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And what could be termed as a setback to the Third Front alliance in Bihar, the Nationalist Congress Party has announced that it will contest alone in the ongoing Bihar Assembly elections and not ally with any party, giving a severe jolt to the Samajwadi Party Supremo Mulayam Singh Yadav and Jan Adhikar Party Chief Pappu Yadav. NCP has decided to contest some over 45 seats in the state. Senior NCP leader Tariq Anwar admitted that there is some confusion in the Third Front in Bihar.
समाजवादी पार्टी, जन अधिकार पार्टी, एनसीपी और हम लोग दूसरी पार्टियां मिलकर जो एक गठबंधन बनाया था, उससे हम अपने आप को अलग कर रहे हैं. और उसका कारण यही है कि मुलायम सिंह का जो बयान आया, वो बयान हम लोग ऐसा मानते हैं कि वो दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, क्योंकि उससे कहीं न कहीं ये संकेत मिल रहा है कि वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पक्ष में है.
And preparations, of course, in place for the second phase of polling in Bihar to take place on Friday. Apart from ensuring a free and fair election, the Election Commission is also engaged in educating people on the need to exercise their franchise. Security as well is watertight to ensure smooth polling. Our correspondent Pranav Goswami brings you this report.
Campaigning for the second phase of elections in Bihar ended on Wednesday evening. Tight security arrangements have been made for the second phase of elections to be held on October 16th.
सब पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस को भेज दिया गया है अपने अपने इलाके में। एरिया डोमिनेशन अभी भी चल रहा है। वोटर्स का कॉन्फिडेंस के लिए हम लोगों ने फ्लैग मार्चेस करवाई हैं और लगातार डीमाइनिंग ऑपरेशंस हो रहे हैं। एंटी नक्सल एंटी क्रिमिनल ऑपरेशंस भी हो रहे हैं। लिए हमारी फ्लाइंग स्क्वाड की टीम, स्टैटिक चेकिंग टीम्स, हर पॉइंट पे चेकिंग्स लगी हैं।
Like in phase 1, paramilitary forces will man the polling booths across the state. The responsibility of patrolling has been given to the local police. Security forces have been dispatched to their designated polling booths. There will be aerial surveillance of sensitive polling booths. Drones will also be used to keep vigil. There will also be video surveillance at polling booths, and flying squad teams will be in place if complaints are received. Landmine protection vehicles will march in Naxal-affected areas. 20 companies of the paramilitary forces will be engaged in road opening work.
बहुत बड़ी संख्या में पैरामिलिट्री फोर्स आ रही है जो प्रत्येक मतदान केंद्र पर रहेगी ताकि लोगों को सुरक्षित होने का एहसास हो सके और एक कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर हो सके। हमारा जिला नक्सल अफेक्टेड भी है, उसके लिए भी हम लोगों ने पूरी तैयारियां की है। क्योंकि नक्सल अफेक्टेड होने के कारण कई प्रकार के नए सिक्योरिटी कंसर्न्स रहते हैं, तो उन सभी को हम लोगों ने एड्रेस करने की कोशिश की है, लेकिन फिर भी पूरी अलर्टनेस है ताकि किसी प्रकार की दुर्घटना ना हो।
Voting will take place in 6 districts in the second phase. 32 seats in these 6 districts will go to polls. 458 candidates are in the fray. Voting will be held in Gaya, Rohtash, Arwal, Kaimur, Jahanabad and Aurangabad. Polling will begin at 7 in the morning and will end by 3 p.m. in one-third of the seats, 4 p.m. in the other third of the seats and 5 p.m. in the final third. Voting percentage during the previous elections in these districts was low. The Election Commission has initiated several programs to educate voters here on the need to exercise their franchise. Religious organizations have also appealed to people to exercise their rights. The voting percentage in the first phase of elections was 2% more than the last time, but the figure was still less than expected. There is hope that better security and awareness about the need to vote will positively impact voter turnout in the second phase. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
And my colleague Frank Pereira has been keeping a tab on the elections in Bihar, and he joins us with the latest. Frank, the third front that was supposed to throw a spanner in the works for the Grand Alliance as well as ruffle feathers in the BJP, not really working out. The NCP saying it's going to go it alone.
You know, right from the beginning, as far as the third front is concerned, Ishan, they were all opportunistic parties that came together in the last minute, and then on, we've seen that there have been several murmurs within the third front itself, starting with the NCP and the Samajwadi Party. The NCP was never happy or pleased with the number of seats that they were given by the Samajwadi Party, and even now, the main reason for pulling out of the third front is being said that, the NCP is not happy with Mulayam Singh Yadav and the way he's conducting himself within the third front itself, and that's why they've decided to come out, and they will be contesting in about 45 seats alone. Now, as far as the larger picture in Bihar is concerned, it's not really going to make too much of a difference when, it's going to be a bipolar contest between the NDA and the Grand Alliance. So not a great significant impact that it's going to have on the ground as such.
All right, and let's talk quickly about the second phase of polling, this time in Maoist affected seats. So security, of course, being of prime importance, but also give us a lowdown as far as the criticality of this phase goes.
What's interesting as far as this phase is concerned, Ishan, is the fact that, it has got the highest number of crore-patis or people who have that much of money contesting in these polls. There are 458 candidates in the fray. There are over 100 crore-patis, and also there are 142 people who have a criminal record and who have some kind of an FIR lodged against them. So it's extremely interesting. It's a contrast of, both sides that the people are going to look at. Out of the 458 contestants, there are about 32 female contestants or women contestants who will contest in the polls tomorrow. Polling will start as early as 7 a.m. and it will end in the Maoist affected areas at 3 p.m. Then that would be about one-third of the polling will be over by 3 p.m. Another third would be over by 4 p.m. And finally, the final third will be over by 7 p.m. So by 5 p.m. I beg your pardon. So that's how polling is also going to take place tomorrow, Ishan.
All right, Frank, we'll leave it over there. But thank you very much for coming in. And of course, Frank will be joining you at 6:30 today with the latest from the poll ground in Bihar in Verdict 2015. Thanks so much for that, Frank. Now to a big focus story for this evening. The spike in the prices of pulses has prompted the government to swing into action with a number of measures. Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said 2,000 tons of pulses will be imported to tackle the situation. The centre has also decided to pull in 500 crore rupees to reduce the cost and imports to create a buffer stock.
Wholesale inflation has seen deflationary trend for close to a year now, but people continue to reel under the burden of rising prices, especially of pulse, which has risen manifold in recent days. Retail prices of tur dal rose to 181 rupee per kilogram in most parts of the country. It's more than double of what the price was 12 months ago. Urad dal prices also increased to 187 rupee per kilogram from 99 rupee per kilogram in the same period last year. The government blamed the climate as the reason behind low production of pulses.
सबसे बड़ी बात है कि दाल का हम लोगों के यहाँ जो खपत है वो 225 लाख टन है और जो पैदावार जो है इस बार मौसम खराब हुआ, पैदावार हुआ है 192 लाख टन पिछली बार हुआ था और 172 लाख टन इस बार हुआ है। जब पैदावार कम होता है और डिमांड ज्यादा होने लगता है तो स्वाभाविक है कि जो काला बाजारी होना शुरू हो जाता है और जमाखोरी शुरू हो जाता है।
On Wednesday, an interministerial group led by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley took stock of the situation. He announced to pull in a 500 crore rupee fund to control the spiraling prices. This will help to increase supplies and make pulses available in the retail markets at lower rates. Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the centre will import 2,000 tons of pulses. This will be in addition to the 5,000 tons lying in the ports and another 2,000 tons in transit. The centre also urged the states to step up and cooperate to cool the prices.
इस बार सरकार ने ये लिया कि तिलहन और दलहन की जो खेती करेगा उसको सब्सिडी दिया जाए। हम लोग के पास दाल बहुत कम है, ज़्यादातर ईस्टर्न कंट्री जो है उसी से दाल मंगाते हैं, तो दाल की कमी है इस देश में है और कमी के कारण महंगाई थोड़ा बढ़ जाती है। तो हम समझते हैं कि जरूर केंद्र सरकार भी कोशिश करेगी, दाल मंगाना पड़ेगा, उससे कमी होगी तो मंगाएगा और मार्केट को कंट्रोल करेगा।
Pulses prices have risen unabated for the past few months due to a fall in domestic output by about 2 million tons due to deficient monsoon last year and unseasonal rains. To tackle the situation, the government has imposed restrictions on holding of pulses stocks beyond the ceiling and taken action against hoarders and black marketers. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And let's go across to economic affairs expert Priyaranjan Das, who now joins us live. Priyaranjan, as far as this decision by the government goes, really the government having no option giving the spiraling prices of pulses.
Yes, it's not been happening all of a sudden. I mean the price increase in pulses. Although in September, dal prices have gone up by as much as 38%. But it's been a long-term problem because we are, as a country, we are the largest consumer of pulses. And over the years, sufficient attentions haven't been paid to increasing the production of pulses. So in deficit years, particularly when if you have a drought or not so good rain, then pulses production tend to get affected much more.
Right.
And the gap between the demand and the supply increases. This is one such year where your consumption is around 22.5 million tons and your production has been little over 17.5 million tons.
Right.
So that being the case, this should have been anticipated much earlier than the action that is being proposed today. But what is happening today in terms of the centre importing 2,000 tons of pulses is, I think, too little too late, because prices are now really hitting the ceiling.
Absolutely. Tur dal is over 180 rupees a kilogram. So in that sense, pulses are really throwing a spanner in the works. But as far as the larger picture, the larger macroeconomic picture and the inflationary trends go, how do you see this impacting that?
See, if you look at the inflationary trend overall, inflation is firmly under control, both WPI inflation and the consumer price inflation. And it is well within the target that Reserve Bank of India is keeping. But that is not to say that essential commodity prices, particularly food prices, have been very unstable, and that is creating problem, especially for the lower income groups. And a commodity like dal, where price increase has been substantial, there has been increase in prices of vegetables, notably onions, and also milk, meat, and the poultry prices have been on the rise. That is really a matter of concern, but it's got to do with structural problem with production within the country.
Right.
And lack of attention being paid to the supply, to augmenting supply of these items, where every year your demand is increasing, and rightly so, because as incomes rises, people who demand more of these kind of protein or vegetable, fruits kind of products,
Right.
instead of just cereals. So, whereas in cereals the price increase is rather moderate, in other such food items, the prices have been increasing sharply.
All right, very quickly then, in terms of remedies, we've seen what the government's done as far as importing import of pulses is concerned. But do you see any other measures that the government should be taking right now? What would your advice to the government be?
In the short term, imports are the step that the government needs to take. Essentially, it has got to do with more efficient food management. You have to plan your imports well in time. And the country has enough foreign exchange reserves to be able to allow import, and so but in commodities like pulses, for instance, which is not a very widely consumed commodity elsewhere in the world, it's sometimes very difficult to also tie up imports.
Right.
So, because global production of pulses is not too much, and India is, as I mentioned, is the largest consumer. So, but in food, you have to really look in terms of augmenting production within the country.
All right, so that is a focus area for India now. Let's see whether the government works on that on a war footing as well. But thank you very much, Priyaranjan Das, for coming in and helping us understand the situation as far as pulses are concerned a little better. Now, more writers have joined the list of Sahitya Academy Award winners to voice their resentment over the growing intolerance. That and more after a break.
Political slugfest intensifies in Bihar. Regional leaders fight a do-or-die battle. Who wins Bihar and who loses relevance? Watch Verdict 2015 on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, dance bars in Mumbai will reopen with the Supreme Court, in fact, putting on hold the controversial law banning them. But the court has said that the dignity of women should be protected and that it is the duty of the state police to ensure this. Dance bars are probably the only issue where successive governments cutting across the political divide agree that they are fronts for prostitution. There were around 700 dance bars across Maharashtra, employing more than 75,000 women. The state police had cracked down on dance performances in bars for the first time in 2005. Elite establishments, including five-star hotels, were however exempted. The Dancers Union had also opposed the ban, saying it would force members into prostitution.
राज्य में डांस बार जिस समय चल रहे थे, उस समय जिस प्रकार की प्रवृत्तियां हमको दिखाई पड़ी, वो प्रवृत्तियां राज्य में फिर से तैयार न हो, इस बारे में राज्य सरकार सजग रहेगी।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्टे ऑर्डर ग्रांट किया है कि वो 33A स्टे रहेगा, तो यानी कि अब
पॉसिबल है कि डांस किया जा सकता है महाराष्ट्र के रेस्टोरेंट्स में। रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाई हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये बोलते हुए कि कोई ऑब्ससिनिटी नहीं होनी चाहिए और इन अकॉर्डेंस विद लॉ हमारे लाइसेंसेस का रिन्यूअल कंसिडर किया जा सकता है।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर बहुत ही बढ़िया है, हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट के बहुत आभारी हैं। जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कंडीशन डाली होंगी इन द लार्जर इंटरेस्ट ऑफ सोसाइटी होंगी, हमें मंजूर है।
Now, writers and artists continue their protest against growing intolerance across the country. 3 more have returned their Sahitya Academy Awards today to join the list that has now crossed 30. The literary world as well as opposition parties have come down heavily on the government for ignoring the protests and criticizing the protesters themselves.
Rajasthani literature Nand Bhardwaj, Kannada writer Kumvira Bhadrappa, Marathi author Ibrahim Afghan and poet K.K. Daruwala joined the list of protesters to give up their Sahitya Academy Award. All of them echoed disappointment and anger at government's alleged inaction to tackle rising cases of intolerance. Their decision came a day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley criticized the manner of their protest.
किसी व्यक्ति विशेष से विरोध नहीं है, मेरा गलती से विरोध है, गलत एक्शन से विरोध है। लेखक इस प्रक्रिया में शिकार हुए हैं और उनकी आज़ादी पर हमें खतरा लग रहा है। इसी को मैंने ध्यान में रखा है, इसी को और लोगों ने भी ध्यान में रखा है और उसी की प्रतिक्रिया के रूप में हमने ये अवार्ड इसलिए लौटाया है कि इसको रखने का कोई मतलब नहीं रह गया।
We are protesting about a writer being killed, a writer being shot for no fault of his, and there is no communal element in it. I don't know why the establishment thinks it is sort of a attack on the establishment.
The controversy has also turned into a full-fledged political battle between the opposition and government. A day after Finance Minister in a blog criticized the writers who are returning their awards, the opposition parties have come down heavily upon him. Congress was joined by other opposition parties in terming Jaitley's remarks as insensitive.
भारत के वित्त मंत्री ने कल जो कहा है वो निंदनीय है। वो इस बात को दर्शाता है कि सरकार संवेदनशील नहीं है और सरकार केवल अपनी विचार और सोच थोपने पर आमादा है और सरकार किसी दूसरे विचार, दूसरे दृष्टिकोण को सहन करने के लिए तैयार नहीं है।
ये सरकार और इस पार्टी के लिए अलार्म है। इसे हल्का करके ये आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे।
इसके बजाय कि सरकार संवेदनशीलता के साथ उसको नोट करके उचित जवाब दे या उचित रिस्पांस दे, अरुण जेटली जी जो इतने सीनियर कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर हैं, वो उस घाव में और नमक डाल रहे हैं, तो ये तो बहुत ही निंदनीय है।
However, the ruling party has dismissed all allegations, terming it as an attempt to do alternative politics.
हम उनकी विद्वता का सम्मान करते हैं, लेकिन अगर चुनाव हारी हुई पार्टी के सम्मान में वो खड़े होंगे और आनंद शर्मा बोलेंगे तो और ये स्पष्ट होगा कि ये कांग्रेस प्रायोजित है।
Jaitley had termed the instances of writers returning their awards as manufactured crisis. So far, over 30 authors have decided to return their Academy Awards and 5 writers have stepped down from official positions of the literary body. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now get you some more national news and updates in Nationwide. The Supreme Court today allowed the voluntary use of Aadhaar card to avail benefits under Mahatma Gandhi Narega, Pension, PF and Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana schemes. The Apex Court is modifying its earlier order restricting the use of Aadhaar card for subsidy on LPG and drawing rations under PDS. The CBI moved the Supreme Court for permission to interrogate Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Veerbhadra Singh in a corruption case. The CBI also asked the top court to transfer the case from Himachal Pradesh High Court to Delhi. The Apex Court will hear the petition on the 26th of October. A Pakistani submarine opened fire on 4 Indian fishing boats and arrested 24 fishermen from the Gujarat coast. An Indian team is expected to visit Pakistan to inspect 22 Indian boats seized by Pakistan. The date for the visit is yet to be finalized. 2 militants who deserted the police force last month were killed early today in the Doda district of Jammu and Kashmir. Indian troops launched an operation in the remote belt after receiving specific information. The Doda district has been free from the presence of militants for almost 4 years now. Some sports now, and Zaheer Khan has decided to quit international cricket. He has announced his decision today admitting that he could no longer handle the rigors of the game. He has been in and out of the team in the last few years due to recurrent injuries, which took a toll on his body. He will end his domestic career next year with the IPL's 9th edition. Zahir Khan has taken 311 wickets in 92 tests, and he played the 92 tests that he played, and is the 4th on the list of most successful Indian bowlers in the longer format. He played a major role in India's 2011 World Cup triumph with 21 wickets in the tournament.
I just felt that this is the right time for me to say bye to international cricket. Cricket has been my life for last 20 years, and since the time I left Sri Rampur back in 1996, I've been pretty much on the road, and it's been amazing. So there are a lot of people to thank, and a lot of people have backed me, and it's just been an amazing journey. Yeah, when I look back, I feel proud about it. The World Cup is right, it just puts you right up there, and to be able to achieve that once in your career is something really special, I think, in any cricketer's life.
We'll call it a wrap. Thanks so much for watching. That's the news at 6.